Hello guys, what's up? I am so excited because I am going to see a play. It's going to be Into the Woods, and I'm really excited. I've never seen it live before. I've just seen the recorded Broadway version with Bernadette Peters, and I've seen the movie, and I've always wanted to see this. They're doing it at the Guthrie in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm on my way. I'm going to meet my mom and my sister there, and I can't wait to tell you how the show was. So we'll see you after I see the show. Guys, it was so good. Okay, I am not gonna sit here in my car and talk about it. I'm gonna have to gather my thoughts, think about what I want to actually share with you about the show and everything. But I really enjoyed it. So glad I went. So I'm excited to share my thoughts. Hello everyone. Welcome back to Theater by Mo. I'm Mo. I love me some live theater. I got to see Into the Woods live for the first time. I have seen the recorded Broadway version with Bernadette Peters. I have seen the movie, but I've never actually gotten to see any version, whether community theater, professional, on stage before, and that has definitely been on my list, like one of the top things on my list of shows that I would like to see. So happy I finally got to see it. They are doing it at the Guthrie in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I actually used to live a lot closer, not in Minneapolis, but a lot closer, and we moved about a year ago, but not too far away. It was, maybe took me like an hour and a half to get there. So I'm so glad that I live close enough to be able to do that. Also, I got to go with my mom and my sister, so that was really fun. And it's been, I guess I've seen like a couple of plays in the last year, but it's been like a little over a year since I've seen a professional show, and it's always so fun to go to those. So if you haven't been to the Guthrie before, they have a couple different stages. They have the Wordle Thrust, and then they have the, what's it called, the McGuire Proscenium Theater. I've been in both. Well, and actually, I think they have a black box theater too, but I've never seen a show in that space, I don't believe. But I've definitely seen more shows in on the Thrust stage. When I was in school, we would sometimes take trips up to the cities and see the shows, and we'd have to write like a critique on the play, or whatever that we saw. For those of you who do not know, a thrust stage is where there's play on like three sides of the stage. So proscenium is just flat. It's kind of like you're looking at a TV screen sort of thing, whereas thrust, it's like almost like a semicircle, like half of a circle or half of an oval. It thrusts, it sticks out into the audience. So there's audience, the front, and then covering like the sides of the stage. So kind of fun, a little bit of a different style to be able to watch, and I really enjoy that type of theater on that type of stage. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my reaction to Into the Woods, what I thought of the production. Yeah, so let's just get right into it. First things first, can't go wrong with Into the Woods. The music, great. The story, great, really entertaining. So obviously those were things that are not new or fresh, but just gotta point those out because Stephen Sondheim, kind of a genius. So I sort of came prepared, wrote me some notes of things that I would like to talk about. I want to start with just general overall thoughts on the show. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was done really well. I thought overall the casting was really great. For the most part, the costumes, I'm kind of like up and down about my feelings on that, but you know, they stuck to a general cohesive style, I felt, so that's important. And then they had, you know, usually for musicals you're gonna have a live orchestra. They had theirs on stage in the back. Sometimes you can't see the musicians. For this production you could, and I really enjoyed that because it kind of, just the kind of like storybook style with the narrator and the fairy tale characters. I feel like that was kind of a nice little like kind of cutout that you also get to see in the story, so it kind of like adds it all together that you get to see all of those elements. So I really enjoy that. The set, simple, I mean, kind of some like tree looking things sticking up. They had some stumps that would be moved around to different areas for like different scenes and different locations. I always appreciate kind of the minimalist sort of set design. I mean, I love me a good big grand set too, but I think it's so effective, especially when there's a show like this where there's a lot of motion and a lot of moving from one scene to the next and one character group to the next. Just kind of keeping it simple and using different parts of the stage and entrances and different like configurations of those little set pieces. I find that to be very effective when done well, which it was. Also, something I really appreciate about the Guthrie is they always tend to be really good about their scene transitions, meaning like everything just kind of flows. They had some extras that were dressed up kind of like part of the forest, so to speak. So they had like branches and, you know, moss, and they're just kind of like plant or tree creatures, and they did some of the actors also moved things, but they did some of the extra things, and they would sometimes be like just kind of like waiting to move the next thing and like be part of the scene a little bit, and I thought that was done really well, and it really just made the whole thing flow nicely. Sorry, I keep bumping my table. So I thought that was really good and effective, and I liked how they did their scene transitions. I want to now, I think, get into characters. I was just gonna briefly go character by character, a couple of character groups probably, and just tell you my thoughts on that. So, the witch, I think it's a little tough when you have seen the Broadway version, the one that's recorded with Bernadette Peters, because hello, Bernadette Peters is amazing. I actually got to see her do a concert one time at the Ordway in St. Paul, Minnesota. That was really fun. I went with my sister. Anyway, The Witch, I thought overall really good. I thought her vocal delivery was really good, just like how she delivered her lines, her singing voice, all was really great. Her physicality, that's where I'm a little bit like, I love when just the physical motions of the character really line up, and I know some of that is subjective. It's how you feel about it, or you know, like what your opinion is. I thought she was fine when she was like the like ugly witch, like in the beginning. I thought it was a little bit better. She had kind of this like big cloaky sort of costume, which I also I thought was good, and it fit very well. And I felt like then, you know, just how she moved it felt really good and perfect for the witch. When she became like the beautiful witch, I don't know, I feel like she just didn't have as smooth movements and grand as movements. And you know, people move in different ways, so you can't win them all. But it felt like she should have been a little bit more like poised and upright, and I didn't quite get that from her. I also didn't really enjoy her like beautiful witch costume. It was this kind of like rainbowy dress with this big slit, and I felt like it just didn't really fit the actress's body very well and her body type. I don't know, I feel like the slit wasn't so good. I also kind of felt like it would have been better, and maybe she just moved better in flats, and that's what the choice that they made. But I feel like for that kind of like beautiful transition, it would have been a little more powerful to have her in a little bit more of a heel, and I think maybe she would have carried herself a little bit differently. Personal opinion, but overall, loved the witch. Rapunzel, she was good. She also played like Cinderella's mother, so like when Cinderella goes and talks to her mother at the tree and stuff, she did that like singing part, and I thought like her singing voice overall was really great. Her physicality, I felt good. Her costume was good. But the main thing I want to mention about her is I felt like her vocal delivery, just like when she spoke lines, felt a little bit flat. She projected really well, but it felt a little bit like she was focusing too much on getting the line out and projecting it versus like any inflection in her voice, so it felt a little bit monotone in a sense. So overall she was good, but I just felt like her delivery of her lines could have been a little bit more interesting. Rapunzel's prince, he also played the wolf. Vocal delivery, good, strong. Physicality, good. Sometimes I felt like he was maybe a little choppy. The wolf I would have maybe preferred to be just a little bit more fluid, but I feel like that's just the physical choice that he made, or the director made, and it was committed, and that was fine. And the princes, like, they're so just like, you know, so I feel like he played that really well. His costume was good. The wolf costume I found to be slightly odd. I mean, they did kind of this like, it's a little hard to describe, but almost like this outline of the wolf in a sense. It wasn't like, you know, full on wolf, but he had kind of like a, you know, things like wrapped around his arms and stuff like that. And at first I wasn't so sure, but then tying back into Rapunzel, you know, she had this like wrapped around thing when she was in the tower, and I felt like just that, and there was also some elements of that in the witch's costume. It kind of like tied in, like we're part of the forest, so I think the tie-in was really good. Just the overall cohesiveness of the costumes was good, even if it's a costume I didn't necessarily prefer. The stepmother and stepsisters and steward, I'm going to just kind of group them all together because they're not as core characters. I mean, they're still important to the story, but they're not like the ones that you remember as much. Good. I thought overall all of them were good. My one thing that I didn't enjoy so much is I thought that the like dresses for the stepsisters and the stepmother were a little odd. They felt a little unfinished. It almost was like they had like an outline of the costume, and then the contrast with like Cinderella's ball gown, which was like this full beautiful thing, felt a little odd. But you know, I feel like that was maybe a choice that was made, whereas like she's like the beauty, and then they're kind of like the awkward ones. But I feel like they could have maybe had a little bit more dress. Like it was like they were kind of sheer and stuff. I don't know, it felt a little bit just like it was supposed to be underneath a dress. That's the kind of look that I got from that. Cinderella, I was actually like looking at the Playbill, and I saw that she had training, like ballet training, which made a lot of sense when I look at how she moved and everything. Yeah, vocal delivery, great. Beautiful singing voice. I thought she delivered the lines well. She felt like Cinderella. Physicality, good. Sometimes I felt like she was a little twitchy. Like, you know, sometimes it's better to just stand your ground and be still. Like, movement is good when it's intentional and you feel like your character needs to go somewhere and do something, but sometimes I felt like she had a little bit of the wandering foot thing. It wasn't bad. It was just like, sometimes I'm like, oh, that felt a little bit unnecessary. But this is me being like critical, you know. Costume, good. The plain one when she was like not the princess, it was fine, just like some pants and a shirt and like a thing over the shirt. It was okay. It I think kind of fit with other choices that they made in costumes, but maybe it wasn't exactly what I would choose, but I've also never been a costumer. So. Jack, one of my favorite characters in the whole thing. I thought he did really well. He had a great singing voice, great speaking voice, his physicality, perfect for Jack, costume good. He had, you know, like shorts and kind of a torn up sweater and like his little stocking cap and like boots with duct tape on it and stuff. And then when he was like, after he'd been up to the giant and stuff and like had gold and everything, he had this like funny little cap and his like fanny pack and just more blinged out. And I thought they did that really, I think it was good. It was good. And then Jack's mom, who also played Red Riding Hood's granny, she was great. Her physicality was awesome. Like she had two different physicalities for two like older women, but they were very, very distinct and different. You knew who it was. Even if she hadn't been wearing her like costume and stuff, you would have known who she was. She picked different vocal deliveries, which I thought was done really well. Again, you knew who it was. Her costuming, I enjoyed. I thought it was good. Yeah, she was top notch. Great. Red Riding Hood, another one of my favorite characters in the story of Into the Woods. I thought her vocal delivery was really good. Singing voice, speaking voice, that felt like Red. Her physicality was okay. I think I enjoyed it more in the second half of the show than the first half. And I know like Red Riding Hood is supposed to be like a little girl, but I don't think she's necessarily traditionally played by like a little girl. Like I think in the Broadway one that is recorded that I saw, I think I had looked it up and she was probably like in her 20s or something. But I think that she felt a little bit like too, like maybe it would have been better if the actress was like a little bit shorter or smaller or something, because I felt like a little bit she was trying to play little girl, but she wasn't a little girl. So I think she did a really good job. I just think that's a little bit of a challenge to physically act in such a way that's younger than you are. And then her costume was, I'm on the fence about it. They kind of made her a little bit like hipstery. She had this like long red robe and like kind of the crop top look and the like skirt, although I think it was like shorts, but it was kind of like the skirt effect, like the boots and like the braid, you know. Anyway, it was fine. Her costume wasn't my favorite, but again, I think it worked with other choices they had made with other costumes. Cinderella's prince, he also played Milky White. I think sometimes the cow is played by someone and sometimes the cow is just like a cow that's pulled along. This time it was played by someone and they had him on this like giant tricycle. I really enjoyed his Milky White performance. He was kind of like the whole time. It was like anytime someone would be like, oh, milk him, or like, oh, he's gonna be sold, or things like that, he would always like react really well to it, and I thought he did a really good job with that. When he was Cinderella's prince, I thought his singing voice was really good, but I feel like same with Rapunzel, his vocal delivery was a little flat to me. Again, like I felt like he was projecting and getting the lines out there, but he felt a little bit just, yeah, again, monotone. His inflections and choices that he made vocally didn't wow me. And his physicality too, great for Milky White. For the prince, it just felt a little bit like he was trying too hard to do like these motions and stuff, and again, like not necessary, just be like strong. And it felt a little bit like sometimes it was like, oh, you were directed to do that, versus like that was a natural thing for your character. And costume, good for both. For the prince, inside his jacket there was like faces of himself, which I thought was hilarious because these princes are obsessed with themselves, right? The narrator, yeah, great. They chose a woman for the narrator. She also played then the mysterious man. Yeah, she was good, strong speaking voice, good physicality. It took me a little bit to get into her as the like mysterious man, but it also might be because I had seen her like a year ago in a show as a very different character. So it's like I had to like get out of that for a little bit, but I thought she did a really great job. The baker and the baker's wife, I think those are my last two. They were great. They had great chemistry together. They fed off of each other really well. Kind of grouping them together because they're like a unit a little bit to me. Both of them, great vocal deliveries for singing and speaking. Physicality, great. Costume, great. Yeah, I mean, overall everyone was good, but I feel like those two definitely were some of the best ones in the cast. Yeah, they really made me feel it, you know. Into the Woods, I feel like, is such an emotional play. It's so up and down, like there's these highs and these lows, and I felt like, especially with like the baker, you could just feel it. I feel like he was like really well chosen for that part and did it really well. The last couple things that I want to mention, I was thinking about this more, and I never really thought about this so much when I have seen this show, like the movie or anything, when I was younger and like knew the show, but more so now, and it might be partly because I have kids now and stuff, and I don't know, I feel like it's a very real world sort of musical, even though it's fairy tale. And I think it's the constant, like, these characters wishing for something, and then they get that thing, and then it's still just not good enough, and they're constantly wishing for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and the, you know, doing what you have to do to get what you want. And I feel like that's very human. And I don't know if it was purposely written that way, if that's what was intended for the story or not, but I feel like that's the way that it comes across. And I feel like there's a lot about, you know, children listen to what you say, but they also don't listen. And I think that just, I really relate to it a lot. And I didn't think I would necessarily ever say that about a musical that's a fairy tale, or a play that's a fairy tale. But yeah, the more I think about it and just seeing this production, I was like in it with these characters and feeling their emotions, and I felt like I was really relating to things, just, you know, like wishing for something and it either not coming true, or wishing for something and it does come true and it's not what you expect. Yeah, so that's all that I want to say on that. If you have ever been to the Guthrie, drop me a comment down below. I would love to know what you have seen there. If anyone who's watching this had a chance to go see Into the Woods at the Guthrie, I'd love to know your opinions on it. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was it in between for you? What did you like? What did you not like? Also, if you've just seen Into the Woods before, let me know down below. If it's also one of your favorite musicals, drop me a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this, reviews of any plays that I see. I want to do more reviews of like TV shows and movies and things like that, because that's fun for me. Just fun, goofy, theatery things, performing arts things, fine arts things, all of that. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell, and keep on doing you, everyone. Bye.